Hello, how are you? And welcome to Explorations in Herbalism, or as I like to call it, Curious Herbalism. I'm your host, Kenya T. COVIAK, and I am in a different location today. Look, I'm at a hotel. Ooh, because today I'm presenting at, well, actually, that's not correct. I'm checking in to present this weekend at Convocation, which is one of the largest and longest running Midwestern magical conventions still going. And I said one of them. I didn't say it was the largest. I didn't say it was the longest. But I'm just, you know, I could go somewhere with that, but I'm gonna leave it alone because we're gonna keep it PG. Okay, so, but I can't wait to catch up with you. We haven't seen each other for a few weeks. I'm not sure if you know, I've had some personal things going on, and that's why I haven't seen you. But I have missed you, and I have something special for you today. We're going to talk about an herb we haven't discussed before, and that's kind of why you come here, isn't it? You come here to learn about herbs and maybe some herbs you haven't heard about, maybe some plants you haven't heard of, and you haven't heard of this one probably, because we're going to talk about a fun one called Justicia carnea. And this plant has a lot of different names. I gave you the Latin name because, as you know, we try to go with the Latin names when we're talking about plants. And why? Because one, I try not to use common names or nicknames that often without knowing the Latin name, because sometimes an herb can have the same nickname as another herb and you try to use the two interchangeably and disasters happen, especially when one of them is edible and one of them is not. Don't just put things in your mouth. We've discussed this before. Don't just shove things into your face. But um, this particular plant is really cool. It has some interesting nicknames. One of them is leaf, or another one is called blood of Jesus leaf. Another one is hospital is too far. Seriously, they call the plant the hospital is too far because this plant, as you probably have ascertained by the word blood leaf, helps with replenishing, allegedly, the blood. Justicia carnea is actually one of those plants that is supposed to encourage red blood cell growth. Now, while we're doing this, let's make sure that I always remind you I am not a doctor of allopathic medicine. I'm not a medical practitioner, nor am I a certified naturopath, nor am I a certified herbalist, nor am I a certified medical herbalist. So don't you run around and tell anybody I gave you medical advice because you are lying. And if you lie like that, the truth ain't in you. So don't lie on me. I'll find out. But now that we've said that, it's supposed to encourage red blood cells growth and production to increase it. People who have anemia often are the people who take this particular plant. And the way that they take this plant is they make something called an infusion. I would say a decoction, but it's not a decoction, it's an infusion. Don't argue with me. But the blood leaf is gathered, the leaves are green. I know you think the leaves will be red. See, that's what you get for assuming stuff. But the leaves are green. Pick these leaves in the morning or afternoon. It's up to you. I'm not the boss of you. But you pick them and you let them sit down, wash them off. Insects seem to like these leaves because there's a very heavy emphasis on everyone I've discussed this with about having to wash the leaves thoroughly before you use them. My husband sliding into the view. Um, but the thing about this is that these leaves, once they're clean, once they're drained and everything, what you're going to do is you're going to make an infusion. The way you do that, you take really hot water, like you were making an old-fashioned tea, because this basically is what this is a tea. And you're going to place the leaves into the hot water and let it cook down. Now you could let this steep. Some people cook them and simmer them. Nobody told you. Did I tell you to simmer them? No, I did not. Because I'm not one of those people. I really believe that if something is an infusion, you hear that right? Everybody get the squeaky wheel. But when something is an infusion, then you should let it take its time because why would you rush it? An infusion from a natural tea to me is like what my grandma used to say about a baby and when it's supposed to come. It's just like an apple on a tree. It'll come and fall when it get ready. And the infusion will be done when it gets ready. So if you're using Justicia carnea, then what you want to do is make sure you take your time and let it come to its own fruition. Now, as the leaves are in the water, slowly the water will begin to turn. The leaves will have the color leached out of them, and you'll see a pink to a reddish tone. Eventually, they'll be all worn out, all leached out, and you'll have a nice, rich, dark pink drink. Now, I know I said that the leaves are going to turn the water red. Well, it depends. Now, doesn't it? Depends on what kind of cup it has. Depends on how long you let it leach. It depends on how fresh it was. Depends on the kind of plant it was. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. But it is a red drink, just not super, super like opaque. It's a tea. It's an infusion. It's an infusion. It's not food coloring. It's an infusion. Work with me. So what you're going to do then is you're going to let it come down to room temperature and you're going to drink it. I'm not telling you to drink it. I did not give you medical advice. Do not tell people I gave you medical advice. Oh, I need my bangle earrings. I need my hoops. So I can do that. But that's what you're going to do. And you do that just so you can wind up having to find a way to increase your blood flow. Who else can use this? People who have rheumatism. Allegedly, it's supposed to be good if you have rheumatism issues. It's supposed to be good for other issues, possibly diabetes. I don't know that. I can't prove that. I don't have the different kinds of studies in front of me. Well, that's not completely true. I did read the studies, but I'm not going to tell you to do anything having to do with medical advice because I'm not going to jail. So, this is not medical advice. This is given to you as research. Take your own risk. Again, don't just put things in your mouth because you do not know whether or not you may have some contraindications with medicines you may already be on. So before you decide to start a course of treatment, whether it's herbal or otherwise, always check with your doctor to make sure it's not in conflict. But this is a magical exploration in herbalism, isn't it? So why are we talking about that? Because I know you. I already know. We've been together for about a year. I know what you're going to do. I know you're going to try to put it in your mouth. So I may as well tell you what's going on because I don't trust you, because I know how you're going to be. How do I know you're going to be that way? Why don't I trust you? Because I know me. And I know I try to put it in my mouth. And if I know myself, I know you. That's why. So please do not just run around trying to chew on Justicia carnea and then tell somebody I told you to do it because that's not what I told you to do. Thank you. But now, spiritually, what can we do with Justicia carnea? What we can also do with this is make a spiritual bath. Now, because we know how sympathetic magic works, we know that, if you do one thing in the physical world, we believe that it happens in another way into a spiritual world. Or sometimes, if we do dramatic play in one way, it'll come out into the real world, going in through the little cosmic filter. What is that to say? In other words, if I bathe myself magically and I bless this particular infusion into a bath because I have low blood and I bless it and I pray over it or I charm it and enchant it, I'll probably do something to say, could you also bring this blood to me? Now, whether or not the physical act of bathing in the infused liquid from Justicia carnea or infusion will have a medical application, I'm not going to say. But what I will say is sympathetic magic is real. And I do know that many of the plants that we use magically have medicinal uses, and we usually use that to do things like stuffing, pop it with a medical use. Don't say you haven't thought about it because many of you do that, especially when it gets to someone who's really sick. You'll take something that's supposed to be good for them and you'll stuff the plant. Just like some of you know people who have conditions that are weaknesses and y'all put things in those poppets that will hurt them. You ain't slick. I know you do it, but we only think of good things here because me and my friends are good people, right? We only do good things, right? I don't know if there's thunder outside, so we're not going to continue that line of comment. All right, so, but that's what I'm going to say. Now, as far as spiritually, you can make this a spiritual bath as well. It's not supposed to be just a cleansing bath, it's supposed to be a bit of purification. And I would imagine, now, this is where we get into the line of conjecture. This is where we start to get into how can we use this. This is one of those things. Remember, we said it had different nicknames like blood of Jesus plants. This is one of those things you could use if you've been through a really bad bout of melancholy or a really bad melancholy. Did I really say it like that? Of melancholy or melancholia, and if you've been through some situations where you've been trauma and stress, I would recommend using this with some other herbs in order to help you to try to get over that. Now, I don't necessarily think that clove and this plant go together, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't often mix clove with leaf products unless I already have a basis of experience with them. I'm sure you could, but somehow I don't think this is the one. I'm a different cat. I ain't into that, and I'm not feeling that right now. However, there are some other plants that I could say you could use with it. One of them is specifically a plant coming from continental West Africa. But I'm going to double check that with an expert in that area before I say yes, because I've never seen the two plants used together. And I'm not going to give you some information and tell you only half the story. And until I know whether or not those plants are meant to go together or not meant to go together, I cannot get behind recommending that you put the two plants together. But it's up to you. Take your chances. You pay as your ticket, you get your ride. So figure that out. But that's why I'm not giving you the name of the other plant. Because if I give you the name of the other plant and you combine them, and I, again, have not had the answer given to me whether or not they are to be combined, then I'll feel bad. And I don't want to feel bad. So that's why I'm not giving you the other name. But once I get the answer, or at least once I ask the question, I will be more than happy to give you the name of the other plant. And here is a hint: the other plant is not a leafy plant, not by itself. It's actually a fruit, it's a dried fruit. The sneeze doesn't want to come. Okay, well, I can't do anything about that. But if I were making a bath and I was doing something to uplift myself, I might be tempted to put in an aster or even maybe some goldenrod leaves. But I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know if you should mix those. And if you do know, I think we should have a little bit of audience participation. Write into the show or message the show and let me know if you have combined Justicia carnea with another plant. Because if you have, I would really like to know. I do know this. I do know that it's used in a spiritual bath to uplift. And I do know that it can be used in a spiritual bath to replenish, not just on a physical level, but other levels. So if you possibly have been through a long drought of war and fatigue, I definitely would recommend this plant as a bath. Now, this is not one of those baths that I recommend to do to wash your walls or anything like that. So this is not the bath that you make and put together as a floor wash and then use it to sweep your stoop or anything like that. Because even if we were looking at the doctrine of signatures, it wouldn't even lend itself to that. If we looked at sympathetic method, again, it wouldn't lend itself to that. You want to make sure you're doing things where you're going by that. I don't know if you can hear me, so I'm going to bring you closer to me so that you can hear what I'm saying. Because the lobby's getting kind of busy here. And that's kind of cool, right? It's like you're here. It's like stereo. So I want to just kind of come to the end of this episode by not talking about all the things you can't do with it. Maybe talk about some of the things you can do as well as a practitioner. One of those things is to research on your own. I would recommend getting my hands on some of this. And they do sell it on Amazon, but you don't have to go on Amazon to buy it. I am not sponsored by Amazon, and I am not saying anything against Amazon nor for Amazon. But I will say this, frequenting your local shops is sometimes a little bit more conscientious and more easy for you to get to know who's in your neighborhood. So if you have some shops that have African or even West Indian wares, you should be able to find Justicia carnea. And that way you'll be able to use it and you'll be able to get familiar with it. More than likely, if they see you buying it, they're probably going to know what it is and they're going to be happy that you found out about it and ask you why you're wearing it. So I'm putting on my glasses because I know we're getting toward the end. I'm so happy I had a chance to have time with you again because we're getting to my 15 minutes. And I hope that you will come back again the next time we are on Explorations in Herbalism or Curious Herbalism, which is what I like to do. And my name is Kenya T. COVIAK. Now, you can catch me at a New Moon 22 during the starting in April if you're looking for me here in Michigan, Baltimore. And you can also catch me at the Michigan Witches Ball because I run that every year. That'll be October 12th. So, other than that, if you're going to be in Michigan this weekend, catch me at Convocation. They got a new board that's kind of exciting in a new hotel in Ann Arbor at the Eagle Crest. So we fancy now. We fancy. Ooh, that would be a good song to play. Fancy. And no, Reba McEntire is not the person who first did it, but I love her rendition of it. So From me to you, I hope to see you again next time the show airs. And don't forget, keep it green and keep it out of your mouth unless you know it's supposed to go there. Nothing but love.